Get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it! Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power! Fight the power!
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, 'cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting. A movement of people, it's like we dancing to the ministry of. It's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the prisons is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify. With you and God in time, I best align.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, 'cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
How can I be a better father, son, a better grandson, honoring Fannie Lou's and the Fred Hamptons, the Harriets, the chariots that carry us to various areas that marry us to progress. Yeah, we the harvest, the lovely days and midnight marauders, even through charges and days of darkness. No, we in the hands of the greatest artists. I see it in the waters, I see it in our daughters. They could be bridges that know no borders. For so long, them folk try to ignore us. So we at the ballot boxes to vote for us. Peace to Stacey and the people of Georgia who galvanize so that we can move forward. Steps are ordered with the presence of mind. Everything's more beautiful in time.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, 'cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine,
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and White House correspondent. Right here with you, an afternoon drive time live in LA. Yes, yesterday I was in New York. I'm going to tell you all about it in a moment. But first things first, I'm in touch. And so you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ. And there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or just tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. And there we are for your listening pleasure. Last but not least, subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast to keep up with some of the best episodes from A More Perfect Union. Now, shout out to Ashley Allison, the new publisher of The Root. Last night, I was in New York at the Root Power 100, honoring so many, friends and colleagues and trailblazers that made it on the Root 100 list for 2025. It was very clear that so many folks are leaning into this sort of independent media revolution. And it's a revolution that we here at KBLA have been on for some time. And we want to thank each and every one of you, all of our leaders, learners, and listeners, for being a part of the independent media revolution, supporting KBLA, supporting a more perfect union. We really take great pride in curating a show for you each and every day that helps you to separate the fact from the fiction, that elevates the voices of leaders on the front lines, people that are in community with us. And when people show up for us, we are sure to show up for them. And so all of that is made possible by you. And so we want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And congratulations, congratulations, congratulations to the team over at The Root under the new leadership of Ashley Allison. And now it's time for your National News Roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. Reporting from Washington, D.C., the Associated Press, just before we went on air, reporting that the Supreme Court has allowed Texas to use a congressional map favorable to Republicans in 2026. That's right, a divided Supreme Court today came to the rescue for Texas Republicans, allowing next year's election to be held under the state's congressional redistricting plan, favorable to the GOP and pushed by President Trump, despite a lower court ruling that the map likely discriminates on the basis of race. Now, with conservative justices in the majority, the court acted on an emergency request from Texas for quick action because disqualifying in the new districts already has begun with primary elections in March. The Supreme Court's order put the 2-1 ruling blocking the map on hold, at least until after the High Court issues a final decision in the case. Justice Samuel Alito had previously temporarily blocked the order while the full court considered the Texas appeal. And so knowing this, it puts the comments of Virginia House Democratic Speaker Don Scott in its proper context. He recently announced he's considering drawing a 10 Democrat to 1 Republican House map for the midterms. A lot of folks on these internet streets celebrating this, as an example of what it looks like to fight back. And so the fight around gerrymandering, the fight around redistricting, it continues. This breaking news reported by the Associated Press is just the latest plot twist in this story. Moving along, NBC News reporting that Trump has signed a peace deal with Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. That's right. President Trump delivered remarks at the signing of a peace and minerals agreement with the leaders of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The signing took place at the newly renamed U.S. Institute of Peace, which the State Department said yesterday has been renamed for Trump amid the president's lobbying for the Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts to end various conflicts around the world. Real interesting how he was signing not just a peace agreement, it was a peace and minerals agreement. One might even say a piece, P-I-E-C-E, of the minerals agreement. Just saying. We'll be getting into that early next week with our guests that are experts on the continent of Africa. But back here at home, NPR reporting that the Department of Justice has ordered prison inspectors to stop considering LGBTQ safety standards. The Department of Justice has instructed inspectors to stop evaluating prisons and jails using standards designed to protect transgender, intersex, and gender nonconforming people from sexual violence. That's according to an internal memo obtained by our friends over at NPR. This population is uniquely vulnerable to attacks while incarcerated. You don't have to take my word for it. That's what the data says. And advocates say the change will put such people in even more danger. The memo explains that the DOJ is in the process of revising federal standards related to the 2003 Prison Rape Elimination Act in order to align with President Trump's executive order on gender ideology extremism. The January 20th executive order asserts that the United States recognizes only two sexes, male and female. When we come forward, we're switching gears. I'm really delighted to welcome back to the show a More Perfect Union contributor, Dr. Calvin John Smiley of Hunter College in New York. There is even more breaking news, this time coming out of New York, where a grand jury has made a decision on the indictment of New York Attorney General Letitia James. We're going to get Dr. Calvin John Smiley's reaction to that. And we're going to talk a little bit about this Paramount Warner Brothers deal in the works and why you should care about it, why that matters to folks here in the region where our home station is located and folks of conscience everywhere. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
It's been said that when someone you love has Parkinson's, you have Parkinson's.
The Parkinson's Foundation knows that the disease doesn't just affect the diagnosed. It affects everyone who supports and helps care for them.
If you have questions, the Parkinson's Foundation has answers.
We can help you understand the disease
and give you tips for living a better life.
Find your answers at parkinson.org or call 1-800-473-4636. The Parkinson's Foundation. Better lives together.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 remembers Robin Ayers on the 1-year anniversary of her passing. 1 year ago this week, we lost a remarkable and vibrant voice. Robin Ayers touched countless lives through her passion, her love, her service, and her smile, which you could see through the radio. KBLA Talk 1580 honors her memory and celebrates the legacy she left behind. Robin, your spirit lives on in every conversation, in every connection, and in every one of us, inspired by your voice. Gone, but never forgotten. KBLA Talk 1580, where voices matter.
I'm missing you. Tell me why the road turns. I'm missing you. Tell me why the road turns.
Hit me! National News The Consequence. Informed opinion. And analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and always delighted to be in conversation with my brother, Dr. Calvin John Smiley of Hunter College. He's also founder of Till Everything Better LLC. He is an author, and he's always on time to help us separate the fact from the fiction. Welcome back.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm hanging in there. I just came back from New York. I just did a quick turnaround trip.
Gotcha.
But it was well worth it to celebrating the Root Power 100. We'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. But first, some breaking news. NBC News reporting that the grand jury has declined to indict New York Attorney General Letitia James less than 2 weeks after the first case was dismissed. Our leaders, learners, and listeners should know that the Justice Department, just shortly before we got on air, they failed to secure an indictment against the New York Attorney General. The presentation of the grand jury came less than 2 weeks after the original criminal case against her was dismissed. As I mentioned, Letitia James, a frequent political target of President Trump, who had successfully brought a fraud lawsuit against him, had previously been indicted by a grand jury on one charge of bank fraud and another of making false statements to financial institutions. Dr. Smiley, what do you make of this? That one of the principal foils to Donald Trump has found justice in the justice system that she is a part of, with grand jury declining to indict?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to show that, you know, maybe certain parts of the justice system are still holding up, because clearly the Trump administration was targeting her, as you said, and it was clearly a reach at best. And so the fact that these charges were dropped, I think, highlight that this is a political smear campaign to go after her. And even, you know, not that I endorse James Comey, but, you know, they threw out those federal charges as well. So what we saw was a political hit job that was foiled once again.
You know, will any of this impact the president heading into the 2026 midterm elections? I mean, it's hard to believe that, you know, a year ago he had been elected to the presidency for the second time, largely around making America more affordable, and folks that actually believed him when he said that his mass deportation effort would focus on the most violent criminals in our country. We are living in a time where affordability is outside of reach for so many more Americans. And we know that the mass deportation efforts are not just targeting folks who are the most violent criminals among us, some American citizens being swept up into this. You know, when folks read headlines like this, you know, when people are made familiar with the latest in this retribution tour of the president, is it just another reminder that he's unfocused on what they care about?
Oh, absolutely. And we're already seeing that within his own party, and particularly in his own cult within his party, right? I'm sure you've covered it. The Marjorie Taylor Greene not going to run again after her term is up in January. She is a great indicator of the following that he amassed when he said he was going to, quote unquote, go after the pedophiles and the blood-sucking Democrats, as well as he was going to, you know, drain the swamp. And he's done nothing but, you know, protect those who are allegiances to him. And he has backpedaled so quickly away from those things, right? Whether it is the Epstein files and now saying, oh, we're still talking about that. As you bring up these ICE raids, which optically are insane. You have masked men, predominantly men, who will not identify themselves and going into places like daycare centers, into immigration court. And optically, unless you are an out and out racist, there's no way you can justify this, right? Unless, how do you claim that a woman who is taking care of children is some kind of threat to American democracy? These are the people that are doing the right things, you know, going and picking up people who are contractors, daycare workers. They're doing what you're supposed to do as a good, hardworking America. We don't see these raids going into the supposed alleyways and picking up gang members and stuff. The circus act of ICE is one that certainly is not playing well with American citizens. And then obviously, I think he's still not, or rather, America is still not past what is going on to Palestinians in Gaza, in the West Bank. The ceasefire that he so proudly held up is not working, right? Every day we hear more and more cases of the Israeli army killing children and blowing up buildings and all of these kind of things. So he is in a world of chaos. And then he's cozying up to people like Zoran Mandani, our new mayor-elect in New York City, and people are still trying to make of that what it is. Is he playing chess or is he folding?
Well, only time will tell. But we know that here in Los Angeles, it seems like the war on homelessness may be set up to fail if the president has his way. The LA Times reporting on an expected loss of federal funds and how that could push thousands of LA County households into homelessness. This is what we know as of now, a combination of budget cuts, mostly at the federal level, could force more than 14,500 households out of their permanent subsidized housing and onto the streets or in the shelters just next year. That's what officials are saying. The potential displacement would erase 2 years. 2 years of slight progress in reducing local homelessness, and city and county officials are exploring using some local funding, including Measure A revenue, to prevent people from becoming homeless amid these federal budget cuts. Again, Dr. Smiley, this is the same president. It's the same party that ran for office just last year saying that we're going to make America more affordable. And right now, here in the city and county of Los Angeles, we may be on the precipice, of a mass push of folks out onto the streets into homelessness. And so politically, the fact that this president and this Republican Party, seems to be above any sort of accountability, or is the tide beginning to change coming off of the election in Tennessee, where Democrats didn't win, but they came really dang close to winning an election they weren't supposed to win. And certainly we've seen in other elections on the federal, state, and local level this fall, Democrats sweeping. Is the tide finally beginning to turn? And will it turn fast enough to be able to prevent the worst from happening? In this case, a push towards homelessness here in LA County.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at elections historically, they tend to go back and forth between blue or red, Republican, Democrat. In this particular case, I think Donald Trump is certainly on his heels because, as we all saw, he ran a middle school campaign that people bought into, right? I mean, he was promising Coca-Cola in the water fountains, things that no school on Fridays. And he was saying things and people ate into it or bought into it, as well as I think a lot of people buy into the show, right? Because that's essentially what he is. He's a show. He's a reality star who wants to keep us on the cliffhanger. To the point around driving people into homelessness, this is certainly a huge issue. And I think what's also really important is to connect this back to what LA was doing, and more importantly, what Gavin Newsom was doing around homelessness about a year ago and pushing people out of LA. And all of this, whether it's Democrat or Republican, we have to remember the Olympics are coming to LA in, I believe, 2028. And certainly there is, whenever we look at where the Olympics go, there is this push to get the aesthetic to not see poor people, right? So whether it was Brazil in 2012 and clearing out the favelas of Rio, or now what we're seeing happening in LA, there is always this push to marginalize the marginalized. And, I think communities have to come together and push back on that. And certainly housing would make that even worse. And so there's a lot to be done over the next year.
I just want to remind folks that, as reported by the LA Times, about 3,500 of those households at risk, they're at risk mostly because of state funding cuts. An additional 6,000 households could lose housing because of federal emergency housing voucher programs. The one launched during the pandemic, it's set to expire next year, 4 years ahead of schedule. And so it's sort of the perfect storm in terms of federal and state obligations that are creating this. And, it's worth noting, you got a Republican president, you got a Democratic governor of California. And the question is, are they going to be able to figure this out, or are we going to see more people on the streets simply because our government has failed them? When we come forward, another part of this storm that is brewing, particularly here in California, related to the Warner Brothers Discovery sale. We know that Paramount and Netflix and Comcast have all put in bids. Right before we came on air, I saw that it looks like the folks over at Warner Brothers Discovery are asking for them to sweeten their deals. And so they're looking for another round of deals. Jane Fonda had something to say about this. I'm going to share that, and we're going to get Dr. Calvin John Smiley's reaction when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
The audience is listening. Thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump oversaw a U.S.-brokered peace deal Thursday between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda, ending what he called a decades-long war.
Millions and millions of people have been tragically killed. Went on forever.
Both leaders joined him in Washington, D.C., where Congo is also expected to sign a minerals and infrastructure deal. Two Black men, Robert Primus and Alvin Brown, say their firings by President Trump from federal transportation boards were discriminatory. They were the only Black members on their respective boards and have filed lawsuits. And a new report on 2024 hate crimes in Los Angeles is set to be released Thursday. Last year's data showed a 45% increase. The LA County Human Relations Commission tracks incidents by race, religion, gender, and more, with ongoing spikes in hate crimes against Black residents, Jews, Muslims, Hispanics, LGBTQ people, and women. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
In Pomona, a crash involving a big rig. This one's on the eastbound 10 at Fairplex. CHP in the process of getting them over to the right shoulder now. So as they're out of the way, you're still going to be stop and go from Kellogg. A lot of red through there. West Covina, a fender bender on the eastbound 10 is over in the shoulder before Azusa. That drive a drag from Valley in Orange County. Some debris on the southbound 405 in Costa Mesa before Harbor. Full tire in the right lane.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert told reporters today he's planning to play in Monday night's home game against Philadelphia. Herbert had surgery Monday to repair a fractured bone in his left hand. The decision on playing Monday night might not be up to Herbert. Chargers coach Jim Harbaugh and the team's medical staff need to see if Herbert can handle snaps and if he's having any pain on Monday. This week's top four seeds in the college football playoffs: Ohio State, Tabitha Smiley's Indiana Hoosiers, Georgia, and Texas Tech. Indiana and Ohio State meet up Saturday in Indianapolis for the Big Ten Conference Championship. The top four seeds will get a bye in the first round of the playoffs. The final 12-team bracket will be announced on Sunday. Lakers star Luka Doncic continues to lead the NBA in scoring. Luka is averaging 35.3 points per game. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, y'all, come on. Here come the drums.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
September is World Alzheimer's Month, a time to shine a light on a public health crisis that deeply impacts Black families. 1 in 5 Black adults ages 70 and older is living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and the risk is twice as high compared to white adults. But AD isn't just forgetting a name or losing track of time. Signs of early AD could be repeating questions, missing appointments, or struggling with bills and daily tasks. These things aren't a normal part of aging. Here's the good news. Treatments are available that may help if AD is diagnosed early. If you notice changes in memory or daily routines, whether in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatalsearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com to learn more about the signs and symptoms and a potential treatment option. This message is brought to you by AZI.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has worksource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. He is the one and only Dr. Calvin John Smiley, Hunter College's finest. He is a celebrated author. He's also founder of Till Everything Better, LLC. And Dr. Calvin Smiley, listen, from coast to coast, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had just this week about this Warner Brothers Discovery deal. There are a lot of folks from New York to LA and everywhere in between that are real nervous about this and nervous about what it means for the future of Hollywood, what it means for the future of our democracy. So much that a lot of folks are talking about this op-ed recently published by Jane Fonda, where she says, quotes, "The threat of this merger in any form is an alarming escalation and a consolidation crisis that threatens the entire entertainment industry, the public it serves, and potentially the First Amendment itself." Jane Fonda went on to say that regardless of which company ends up acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery or its parts, the resulting impact is clear. Consolidation at this scale would be catastrophic for an industry built on free expression, for the creative workers who power it, and for consumers who depend on a free, independent media ecosystem to understand the world. Dr. Smiley, how are you making sense out of some of the latest news related to this Warner Brothers Discovery merger or acquisition?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jane Fonda is spot on with this. If we think back to maybe 15 years ago or so when Netflix was still a new thing and streaming was the newest and latest, right? I think we were all really excited about that idea of having all of these different and new ways of getting content and new shows. And, I'm sure we can all think of like what our favorite show that came on these platforms came on. And now I think a lot of us sit there and go, what are we going to watch? And we spend more time, trying to navigate these things. It's like, what is all of this junk? And I think that is indicative of what we're seeing. And as they continue to consolidate and create these monopolies, it will just give us more and more junk. And I think it threatens, as Ms. Fonda said, the actors and folks who work in the industry and the types of jobs that they will be able to have. Us as consumers will get less artistic and more junk. And I think the other thing that we also think about this is how we already live in a CGI world of content, but where does AI fall into this? As these mega media companies consolidate, would they even use actors anymore, right? I mean, I think that's a serious concern that I think a lot of people have. Once they have the monopoly, why do they need actors? They can create AI figures. They have people's voices. They can create songs. They can do all of the things that, the art world is supposed to give us. And then we just pay more and more money for worse and worse quality. So, I mean, what we're seeing is, I am a huge critic of capitalism, but I think what we're seeing is some of the worst aspects of capitalism to date.
Surely unfettered capitalism right here front and center. You raise a very important point about the state of the industry. I'm thinking back to some of the negotiations that the Writers Guild had and the Screen Actors Guild had in their latest contract negotiation around the use of artificial intelligence. I know it was a major sticking point. It probably extended the strike for some time because it was hard for the studios and the guilds to come to any sort of agreement there. I think all bets are off this next round of contract negotiations once the current contract expires. But where are the libertarians? Where are the libertarians in this conversation? I feel like the libertarians are hiding out. Senator Rand Paul and company, where are you? On this, because they love to talk about how much they cherish freedom. They love to celebrate the harm principle to all the political scientists, geeks out there. John Stuart Mill, who made very clear that your freedom was fine until it became a danger to somebody else's freedom. Where are the libertarians in this conversation? Why are we hearing nearly enough from Republicans on the dangers of such a major acquisition? Talk about too big to fail.
I mean, I think, and maybe your libertarian listeners are going to hate me for this, but I find them to be oftentimes some of the biggest hypocrites and contradictionists out here. Taking it even a step back, you'll hear these same folks talking about small limited government when it comes to guns, but when it comes to reproductive justice, it's both hands in the uterus. So, and those people are usually one and the same. So there's always this really interesting contradiction with the libertarian folks who want the limited government stuff for the stuff that benefits them, but then big government when it also benefits them. And I think that's where a lot of the Rand Pauls and some of these others might be. I don't know about Rand Paul particularly, but there's money to be made. There is lobbying to be had. And that's what we see. And I think that's why we have so many people who, again, are pushing for getting lobbying out of politics. You got to get that super PAC money. You got to get the dark money out of politics, because when you can just give a politician undisclosed amounts of money, the world is literally your oyster. And we are in such a moment where that wealth inequality is just so massive that they can buy literally whatever they want, and whether that's a politician, a media outlet. And I think that's where we're at. So the libertarians.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think wealth inequality. I think it is just as much of a threat, if not more, than climate change, because there's so much that's attached to that. It, you
Well, I
know,
think, not to cut you off, but I think they are intrinsically intertwined, right? When
Mhm.
we think about climate change and wealth inequality, right? We love Chat GPT now, right? I mean, as a country, as a consumer, but the devastation that it has on our environment, the amount of water that is used, just our phones and our smart technology and the type of mining that goes into it, our groceries and the fact that farming and all, it all goes one hand washes the other in this sense that we cannot divorce wealth inequality and the extreme amounts of wealth inequality from climate change that is happening, every day more and more rapidly.
Point well taken. What's also happening very rapidly is Halle Berry's comments on Governor Gavin Newsom have gone viral. Every time I've been refreshing my timeline, somewhere I see somebody, posting about what Halle Berry said. The Hill reporting that Halle Berry rips Gavin Newsom over vetoes on California's menopause bills. The Oscar-winning actor slammed California Governor Gavin Newsom for vetoing bipartisan legislation to increase menopause-related care and coverage within the state for the second year in a row, an action that she says should disqualify him from being the next president. What say you, Dr. Smiley? When I first read this, I thought, okay, she's doing what advocates do. She understands who has the power to give her what she wants, to give this movement what they want, and he ain't doing it. And so she's going to make his political life more challenging. So I understand that. But on the other hand, we're also hearing some voices within the Democratic Party saying that some of the conversation that we're having are not mainstream enough, and they make Democrats to other potential voters seem a little weird and seem a little off the boat, if you will. How do you read this particular exchange between Halle Berry and Governor Gavin Newsom?
I'm following behind Miss Berry here because she has a platform, as you said, and that platform has a voice, and that voice can give agency to others to step it up, to voice their opinions as well. And if shaming a sitting Democratic political leader is what's going to get the job done, I'm for it, right? We cannot just continue to say that just because you're wearing the blue color, you are on our team. If you are not here to support, the people, then, maybe it is time for you to, get Jazzy Jeffed up out of here. Now, where the Democrats have to step it up is, well, if that happens, who's going to replace him, right? And I think there needs to be more strategy there. But this kind of old guard, we're just going to do what we want, and we can just guarantee we're going to get your vote, I think is something that the Democrats really need to sit with and really look at what's been happening around the country, right? Folks want new voices, folks want new ideas, and that kind of old guard, we're just going to, limp in because you're a Democrat and I'm a Democrat and you're going to vote for us. I think those days are behind us.
In October, following Governor Gavin Newsom's veto, Halle Berry responded with an op-ed in Time saying it represented, quotes, a failure of his commitment to women. Is it fair to say that because the governor vetoed this bipartisan bill for the second year in a row, he says because it wasn't narrow enough and it would likely increase healthcare costs and not decrease healthcare costs? That was the reasoning that he gave. Is it fair in that op-ed for Halle Berry to represent his decision to veto this bill twice as, quotes, a failure of his commitment to women?
In short, yes, because that's how you get politicians to move on things. I think one of the strategies in organizing is you have to kind of use what they call like the razor's edge theory. You have to sometimes go to places that you might yourself be struggling with, but you have to kind of move the needle so the needle can move. If she comes out with an op-ed like, I think he did okay, that doesn't move the needle, because now you could say, well, she thought I was okay. So I think there's a strategy behind sometimes saying things that are provocative and getting that conversation going. Because if she had only written an op-ed that said, I think he kind of did okay, you and I right now might not even be speaking about it. So the fact that she's pushing it in a direction that some might go, well, that seems extreme, is the point of why you write it that way, is so that people have these conversations and keeps it in the spotlight versus it goes with yesterday's bathwater.
Will this come back to haunt Governor Newsom? Should he hit the campaign trail for president?
I think it will certainly come up. I don't know if it will be his end all be all. As we know, we live in a very sexist country where, women's issues, particularly around health, certainly aren't the make or break when it comes to political platforms. But it certainly could be something that he might have to address and might have to have a more solid response to, certainly.
When we come forward in our remaining minutes with Dr. Calvin John Smiley, it's time for the quiet part out loud. And it's worth noting that New York Mayor Eric Adams has quietly issued an order targeting Israel divestment just weeks before Mamdani takes office. I want to get his take on what New Yorkers are making out of this and what Mayor Adams may be up to. Is he trying to sabotage the mayor-elect before he even takes office? Is he trying to fan the flames of division? Is he trying to better position one of the folks running to become the next speaker of the New York City Council? What is he up to exactly? We're going to get into that when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The holidays can be a time of increased stress for those struggling with opioid or stimulant addiction. They can also be a time for pause, reflection, opportunity, and new beginnings. This holiday season, choose treatment and recovery. Embrace the company of family and friends and create special moments. Find a proven opioid or stimulant addiction treatment provider near you at choosechangeca.org.
If you're an adult in need of an accredited high school diploma, the Los Angeles Public Library can help. You could earn one for free in as few as 5 months, online with 24/7 access. You also get a personal academic coach, plus special training focused on 9 in-demand industries, as well as a resume and cover letter to advance your career. Visit the website at lapl.org/diploma. That's lapl.org/diploma.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
We face tragedy, but we don't fall into despair. We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
It's time for the quiet part out loud. You're listening to A More Perfect Union with Dr. Calvin John Smiley of Hunter College. In our remaining minutes, The Guardian reporting that Eric Adams signed orders on boycotts and divestment and sanctions movement and protests near houses of worship. There were two orders that the New York City mayor, the current New York City mayor, signed. The first prohibits city agency heads and staff from engaging in any policy that discriminates against the state of Israel, Israeli citizens based on their national origin, or individuals or entities based on their association with Israel. The second order directs the New York City Police Commissioner, currently Jessica Tisch, to evaluate proposals for regulating protest activities occurring close to houses of worship. Dr. Smiley, what is Mayor Adams up to in his final weeks in office? And is there any other way to look at this other than sabotaging Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani?
He is a bought and sold clown. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, right? This man had a year ago federal charges of corruption and went and kissed the ring of Trump, bowed out of the mayoral election because he knew he couldn't win. And now he's doing this nonsense. And to be clear, the BDS movement is not against a religious faith. It is against a nation state, in the same way that when people used a similar tactic and a appropriate tactic against South Africa's apartheid in the 1980s and early 90s. What we have seen for the last 2 years is an extreme form of the ongoing ethnic cleansing and displacement and genocide of Palestinian people, both in Gaza and in the West Bank. And I always want to make sure people realize this. This did not start on October 7th, 2023. In fact, the Human Rights Watch in early 2023 had said that 2022 was the most deadly year for Palestinian children in the West Bank. They were killed by the IDF and Israeli settlers. So this is something that is atrocious, that if you protest against a state that is actively killing people, that you would be considered anti-Semitic. It in fact, it waters down and of what anti-Semitism is. And I just saw when we were on break that Netanyahu has said that he will come to New York even after Mayor-elect Mamdani is mayor. And we know that Mamdani has said in the past that he would arrest Netanyahu for war crimes. So, talk about fanning the flames. But what does happen if we have a police commissioner who many people in my circle and a lot of people are very upset that Jessica Tisch is going to remain as the police commissioner? What happens if Mamdani gives the order to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu and you have a police commissioner who does not comply, or a police force that doesn't comply? So Mamdani has put himself in a weird predicament by keeping her in there, as well as we continue to see what Mayor Adams is doing. And in fact, this whole idea, I mean, one of the things that was being talked about was that it was anti-Semitic that people were outside of a synagogue protesting. People were protesting, not the synagogue, not the Jewish people who worship there. They were protesting the illegal sale of land to Israeli settlers, right? According to international law, you cannot sell that land. But yet Israel and these real estate companies that work with the cloak of protection by the Israeli government were selling land that they had no right legally to do. So people were protesting that. People were not protesting Judaism. They were not protesting a house of worship. But again, there's always this spin in a very particular way, because if you can marry anti-Semitism to anti-Zionism, then the conversation switches And it puts it back on the onus of now you have to prove that you're not anti-Semitic versus the idea that Zionism is a settler colonial ideology that has very violent structures in terms of power and growth. So,
Dr. Smiley, in our remaining minute, we know that the Guardian is also reporting that Mamdani will have the power to reverse the orders, which are certain to further fuel some long-running debates around when criticism of Israel slides into anti-Semitism. To your point, should Mamdani reverse these orders?
Day one.
And if so, day one, or should he wait a little bit?
Day one. You are the mayor. People are that's the thing I always get very frustrated about with liberals or progressives and stuff like that. The right is going to hate you regardless. So you playing into them does nothing except for you losing people that voted you in. Mamdani ran on a campaign that was about affordability, that was around young folks, and he got leftists, he got progressives, he clearly got enough liberals to vote for him. I don't understand why you would now change course to try to adhere to some nonsense that some right-wing person, right-wing ideology is never going to accept you, right? There are those on the right and moderate who are never going to accept anything that Zoran Mamdani does. So day one, you need to set the precedent. And that's what he needs to do. He needs to set that precedent early on.
Our thanks to Dr. Calvin John Smiley, Associate Professor of Sociology over at Hunter College and the City University of New York. I also want to encourage you all to check out his publications, Purgatory Citizenship being one, Defund being the other. And we always enjoy having you here to help us make sense out of some stuff that just don't make no sense.
Well, I always appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're listening to and streaming a More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More in our next hour. Thank you, sir.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump is once again targeting Somali immigrants, and Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, speaking from the Oval Office Wednesday, he claimed Somali immigrants have ruined Minnesota and said Omar should never have been elected.
What the Somalian people have done to Minnesota is not even believable.
This follows earlier remarks where he called Somali immigrants garbage amid reports of an ICE operation focused on Somali communities in Minnesota. Jury selection is in its third day for Black Atlantic City, New Jersey Mayor Marty Small's trial after the original pool was exhausted Wednesday. He's accused of abusing his teenage daughter, including knocking her unconscious with a broom. And Maryland House Speaker Adrienne Jones is stepping down from her leadership role, but will remain a delegate for Baltimore County. The 71-year-old made history in 2019 as the state's first Black woman speaker. She says she'll now focus on mentoring the next leader. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
A SIG alert in Rancho Cucamonga. We had a crash on the southbound 15 pickup overturned. That car and emergency vehicles taking up the right two lanes. So CHP has those shut down between Baseline and Foothill. A lot of traffic behind this going back to the 210. In LA, you've got a car stuck on the northbound 605 in the left lane before Rose Hills and Whittier. There's already heavy traffic there from the 105.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experience